Make sure you smash the subscribe button. If you do, you're going to play in the zone every time you hit the floor. Here are 10 awesome stories about KLAY Thompson. Let's go. Crazy story number 1, there's 2 types of clay. There's America clay, and then there's China clay. Everybody in America knows KLAY is a quiet, keep to himself sort of guy. But when KLAY goes to China, it awakens the China clay. And China KLAY is fun, outgoing, hilarious, willing to make a fool of himself, sprite himself on dunks. He'll do anything to make people laugh. He became an internet sensation when he traveled throughout Asia to promote his shoe, Anta, or whatever it's called. KLAY's like your one friend who never comes out, but when he comes out, you're like, KLAY's coming out, I'm going out. Things are about to get crazy. He's the same guy who doesn't drink. You know, he comes out, doesn't even touch the alcohol, and he looks like the drunkest guy there. Love KLAY Thompson. He'll recover from that injury. Fun story number 2, KLAY Thompson forgets his games. This story comes from Warriors GM Bob Myers, who said, a couple of years ago, I think when KLAY was in a slump, he was in a shooting slump, and I said, maybe I'll go over to KLAY's house and just talk to him and see what's going on. So I went to his house, and he was sitting there. I think Rocco, his dog, was on his lap. KLAY was relaxing, and I said, so what's going on? And he said, I just wasn't focused. But he said, I'm good now. He said, I'm locked back in. He said, next game, you watch out because I'm ready to go. And I said, all right, that's great. Just got to get back to your focus. And he said, don't worry, Bob. I'm on it. And as I'm walking to the front door, he goes, hey. I said, what? He said, hey, when do we play again? And I thought he was kidding. And then I said, tomorrow. And then he said, who we got? And I said, KLAY, just keep shooting, I guess. I don't know what to tell you. KLAY Thompson is so laid back, so chill, that he doesn't even know when he plays. Probably has to set a Google alert on his phone so he makes it to the game. I'll tell you a brief funny story. I had a friend in high school who was laid back just like KLAY. And he'd get lost going to school every day, and we had to drive down this highway. And we'd be driving to school going south. And once a week, we'd see him driving north. And we'd wave at him. And then we'd see him at school, and we said, why were you driving north? And he said, man, I was just listening to my music, and I got lost. Reminds me a lot of KLAY Thompson. Number 3, KLAY Thompson uses his dog to help improve his ball handling. KLAY Thompson does dribbling drills with his dog. He said in an interview, he's a great dude to do dribbling drills with. He's a ball hog. Something about him and leather, whether it's a football or basketball, it makes him go crazy. Football, basketball, skateboard. I'm like, man, should I train him better? I think it's just any breed where he wants to pop that ball so bad, he's great to do dribbling drills with. Now, of course, KLAY's probably joking a little bit here, but we can easily see KLAY going out to the court and bringing his dogs with him and then lighting his dogs up. Next time you see KLAY go off and he looks unstoppable, we know who to think. It's Rocco, his dog. If you can score on Rocco, you can score on Kawhi, you can score on Patrick Beverly. They don't even affect you at all. Number 4, Steve Kerr wishes he was KLAY Thompson. Now we can imagine one of the greatest three-point shooters of all time. Steve Kerr wants to be like KLAY on the basketball court, but he also wants to be like KLAY regarding his personality. I wish I was KLAY Thompson, head coach Steve Kerr says. I envy him. He really doesn't care what anybody thinks. But the way it manifests itself is so natural and normal. He just loves to play. He loves his days off. He loves getting outside, loves the beach. He's not low maintenance. He's no maintenance. He could very easily have been the type of player who wanted to go somewhere else so he could have his own team, and there's nothing wrong with that. But because he's not, he has no problem just playing his role, and he's so good at it. He's just a machine with his shooting and just his approach. He never, ever gets tired. He guards the opponent's best guard night in and night out, and then he runs around like Reggie Miller and makes shots. Who knew? Steve Kerr wanted to be like KLAY Thompson. I'll tell you what, after studying him, I also want to be like KLAY Thompson. Seems like an awesome guy. Number 5, he reads actual physical newspapers before games. KLAY Thompson's a different type of cat, if you haven't noticed. And, of course, it carries over into his life in a variety of different ways. In fact, before every game, instead of playing on his phone, What he does is he reads the newspaper. Here's a quote. I just think, especially my generation, we're on our phones so much, all the time, even me. I'm a bad culprit of it. That my mom actually suggested this to me. She said, Clay, instead of standing at your phone pregame all the time, why don't you get a newspaper or a book and read that before a game? Try to take your mind off things. I was like, Mom, that's a great idea. And so Clay, every game now, reads a newspaper before the game begins. I'm going to do another video on the power of reading to calm your nerves, to get you ready before the game. We can remember LeBron James doing something similar, reading the Hunger Games before the finals, to take his mind off of the pressure, to get into the zone. Number 6, the ridiculous things Clay did before he went to meet KD to convince him to come to the Warriors. You would think that when you have a big interview or a big meeting, you would hunker down, review what you want to say, think about what you were going to do in the meeting. Not KLAY Thompson. When he was going to meet Kevin Durant in the Hamptons, this is what he did before the meeting. When we landed, turns out he'd had the most fun day of all time. Assistant General Manager Kirk Lacombe recalled of Thompson, he'd gone out and played tennis on a grass court. He'd bought all whites. He'd gone to the beach by himself, rode a bike to the beach, and by the time we got there, he was kicking soccer balls at the house, I think with a gardener at the house. And that is effing hilarious. He's like Owen Wilson from Wedding Crashers. Number 7, he used to get upset about not getting a lot of love, but he got over that. One thing I think we all love about Clay, while he's laid back, he also has a killer instinct. He wants to win. He wants to rip your heart out. What an awesome combination of coolness and cruelty. And we like to think he's always been above the fray. Cool with whatever applause or plaudits he gets, but that wasn't always the case. He says, I used to actually get upset. Man, I should get more love, Thompson says. Then I was just like, none of that stuff really matters. To me, as long as you play hard and have your dream job, shoot, I'll take that. That's all that matters to me. And you know what? A lot of guys say things like that, but I don't know about you. I believe Thompson when he says this. Number 8, Thompson is an expert in structural engineering. Wink, wink. Few people actually know this, but KLAY Thompson is an expert in structural engineering, specifically building scaffolding. How do I know this? He was interviewed on the New York local news about it.
NBA champ KLAY Thompson says he looks up curious, but still quickly walks underneath.
I usually observe if the piping and stuff is new, or if sometimes, something looks like it's been there a while. I kind of try to avoid that.
Now you know as well as I do that reporter had no idea really who she was talking to when she interviewed him. And they tried to make it look like, later on, they knew he was an NBA player. But let's give KLAY some props here. He has a good eye for architecture and engineering. I also don't walk underneath scaffolding that looks old. I live in New York. In fact, in the building behind KLAY is where I shoot most of my videos for Basketball Brain. Number 9, he invented a shooting drill that helped inspire teams that made it to the Final Four. As you might imagine, KLAY Thompson spends a lot of time on the basketball court perfecting his craft. And of course, he's probably come up with some innovations. One of the drills he came up with was a 3-point shooting drill in which you see how many you can make in a row before you miss 2 in a row. When told that Buddy Hield of the Oklahoma Sooners had made 251, Thompson was impressed. Oh my God, 251, that's a lot. College 3 still, that's pretty good. That's really good. Sheesh, I'm not going to try and break 251. That's a lot of jump shots. He's got me there. What an awesome game to invent. I want to go out and try it myself. How about you? Number 10, KLAY Thompson will come back better than ever from his injury. I wanted to end on a positive note. He was playing out of his mind in Game 6. He had 30 points before he went down with that gruesome injury, but we know KLAY Thompson will come back. I think we can safely say his cool, nonchalant attitude along with his fiery competitiveness is the perfect combination to bounce back from an injury like that. KLAY, we're all pulling for you. We'll see you next season. Please like and subscribe to this channel. Every time you do, it's good basketball karma. You're going to play great. And don't forget to check out our sponsor to this video, BoingVert. Go to boingvert.com, use the promo code BasketballBrain to get 20% off. And guess what? I can vouch for BoingVert. I founded the company 7 years ago. So check it out. The program works. All right, guys, talk to you later. Peace.